Welcome to ScoreCraft, the classic login screen. Home is a strange word. Stranger still when our hearts yearn for home in a land immaterial. How can it be that so many of us see this great stone gateway, hear these time-worn melodies, and feel lost in the warm embrace of a too long-awaited homecoming? Surely, whatever, wherever Azeroth is, we can be certain that it is no mere fiction. People from all walks of life, from everywhere in the world, have flocked here in their millions. They struggle together against great odds and emerge triumphant, arm in arm. Now, we veterans are all gathered again around the base of this great portal, pilgrims on a voyage to the past. Yet, what we have found beyond this gate has not been some empty retelling of a half-forgotten tale. No, what we found was the spirit of adventure, alive, well, and ringing in our ears. Nothing creates a sense of excitement and wistful remembrance in the heart of a Warcraft veteran like the soundtrack of the classic login screen. Generations of players have worn these steps so polished from footfall that they gleam like mirrors underfoot. This place is an unusual one indeed. It exists both outside our terrestrial world and outside of Azeroth proper, yet it is a home to our dreams of what we might become in this new world. Here, we all plucked out of the ether our avatars for adventure, a long and painstaking process, the finality of which was a defining feature of classic World of Warcraft. There was no room for error here. One had to make their decision and stand by it. A stoic and noble approach to character creation that I think had a profound effect on each of us. We all enter Azeroth as nothing, low, meek, and humble. You were judged on what you could do for yourself and your family at arms. So that wordless excitement we all feel on hearing this music, on standing before these gates, it is a conviction that we must live up to our destiny. It looms tall and shadowy before us, beckoning us to heed our will to greatness, to plunge through that portal, and to relish in the pursuit of our destiny. The soundtrack here is, without a doubt, one of the most intricate and impressive feats of musical design in the history of gaming. Those of us who saw the infamous, inimitable original trailer for Vanilla might remember a poignant quote from its opening. "The drums of war thunder once again."
The drums of war thunder once again.
This was no mere turn of phrase, no poetic license. This was, in a way, a prophecy. For from the first second of this music, we're struck by the power of its rhythm and percussion. Opening with a rapid drum roll on timpani and a cymbal crash, the main theme reveals itself with bombastic aplomb. First impressions count in all things, and so one of the most important characteristics for a great login soundtrack is to wrap the listener straight from the outset in the silken shawl of awe, to convince them, beyond any doubt, that their mundane life is now naught but a far-flung speck in the distance, and that adventure is close at hand. Jason Hayes and his party of minstrels knew exactly what they were doing in selecting the rhythmic structure for this music. Right from the outset, we're gripped by it. There's something compelling and different about it that makes it stand out from most other music we might hear. They achieve this feat with their time signature of 7/8. This simply means that there are 7 beats per bar, a beat being the basic unit for a chunk of musical time, and each of those 7 beats has the time value of a quaver, or 1/8 note. Our brains are very accustomed to subdividing music into bars of 4 or 3 beats, and so this 7-beat bar is instantly flagged as exotic and unusual by the brain. However, we do still use our instinctual preference for 4 and 3-beat bars to understand this 7-beat meter, and the composers do a great job of helping us with this. You can very clearly hear the subdivision of the bar that Jason chose to emphasize. In both the drums and the bass strings we hear a repeated pattern of 2 crotchets and a dotted crotchet. These are effectively splitting up the disconcerting 7 beats into a more pleasing 2-2-3 beat pattern. This pattern is one of many that could have been chosen, but it was a perfect choice for use in this title screen music. Certainly, the first music that a player would hear upon launching the game for the first time, and likely the only substantive artistic input that a new player would experience for quite a while. As you must well know, character creation in Classic WoW is no quick or painless process, at least in my experience. The fear of choosing the wrong beard, or the wrong shade of hair color with no chance to visit a barbershop is enough to keep us in the login screen for far too long. As such, the music needs to keep the excitement alive and bubbling throughout what could be quite a long session of indecision before finally entering Azeroth proper, and this rhythmic pattern plays a large role in achieving that. Imagine this pattern as the steps of a long jumper as they prepare to take their medal-winning jump. 2 powerful steps of 2 beats at a confidently striding pace, followed by a 3-beat leap forwards. This pattern of constant rhythmic expansion gives a hopefulness and positive energy to the rest of the music, a buoyant optimism that carries us through into the game world. A similar effect can be heard in the horn calls of this first section of the theme. They have a pattern of a quick leap up of a third, which then falls 1 semitone down. This first happens from the home note here, C, up to E flat, instantly telling the listener that we're in a minor key, the E flat being the minor third of C minor. This leap upwards is always ended by a fall of 1, but because the horns eagerly repeat their leaping undiminished and unperturbed, it actually lends confidence to the music. Think of it as a musical representation of 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because it quite literally is that metaphor constructed in sound, which is a message a new player would do very well to internalize. Boundless optimism will serve you greatly in Azeroth, but there will be many trials and tribulations to overcome in one's journey to heroism and glory. Though there may be many things that cause us to step back in defeat, we will always advance resolute, winning not every battle, but surely the war. And this motif captures that essence in music and helps us to understand that feeling implicitly. There is also another melodic motif in this opening section, played by the cellos and basses, that circles around a note, most commonly the A flat, highlighting it by playing its adjacent notes above and below, returning to the A flat in between. This circular motion keeps the tension ratcheting up, but is also symbolic of the fact that we players always return to this music and this login screen, despite whatever twists or turns our journeys take in game. This one piece of music is the constant for all of us, and this circling, winding theme hints at that fact. Underlying all of this complexity, though, is an ingenious bass line of only 2 notes. It is a warping of the very conventional pattern of an alternating 1, which is the tonic and home note C, and 5, the dominant, which would be G here, that wants to resolve back to 1. Here, however, the 5 is replaced by note 6, an A flat since we're in C minor, and this serves to increase the tension of the music, highlighting the minor tonality and assuring us that we ought not feel assured in our own safety. The purposeful flaunting of the stable resolution that a 1-5-1 pattern would give us, the A-flat being only a semitone away from that 5, ensures that the player does not let their guard down and heightens a feeling of excitement, trepidation, and anticipation that this soundtrack elicits in us. This first section of the track, what musicologists would refer to as the A section, is a testament to the ferocity of Azeroth and the combat that beckons within it. This is the world of Warcraft after all, so this fiery start is perfectly in character. However, the B section that follows shows us Azeroth's more tender side. Visions of verdant elven glades, of the aid of a traveller on a lonesome road, and the spirit of camaraderie found in the company of our allies. This is achieved through a few different methods, the most immediately obvious being a change in instrumentation. A rolling shimmer from a cymbal pulls back a curtain to reveal the violins playing long, sustained legato phrases, underpinned by a countermelody from the clarinet and French horns, the most sonorous and noble of the brass instruments. This violin melody soars above the war-torn battleground at first we met, and raises our spirits high with its warm optimism. The impetuous rhythm from the A section feels distant now, the B section having a sense of timelessness and peace. This is achieved through the 7-8 being reinterpreted from a 2-2-3 pattern into a 4-3 pattern. reducing what was a meter of 3 pulses per bar to only 2 pulses, thus removing some of the rhythmic momentum of the music. We can see here that the violins start in the last 3 beats of one bar as an upbeat or anacrusis, then hold a long note over the entirety of the next bar, which is 7 beats, then falling down over the next bar with 2 notes, one of 4 beats and one of 3. This elongated 4 and 3 pattern is clearly just a lengthened version of our original meter. However, the composers draw the B section to a climatic close by reversing this meter in only 1 bar to a pattern of 3, then 4 beats. Extremely subtle and easily missed, but this metric reversal is what kickstarts the tranquil B section's acceleration into the tumultuous transition section. But before we can explore that, we must turn our attention to the harmony in this B section, as it is here that our composers introduce us players to the unique sound world that makes World of Warcraft the musical enigma and treasure trove that it is. In order to help create the sense of a fantastical world, game composers frequently use harmonies that go against the conventions of traditional music theory, breaking the rules of what's known as functional harmony. Functional harmony is anchored in building harmonic tension up to satisfying releases, but these releases can often jolt one out of the immersion of a game world, and this traditional harmonic language is all too easily reminiscent of the real world, again hampering immersion. Instead, the harmony here showcases WoW's signature use of tertiary relationships. Tertiary relationships are quite simple really. When the root of 2 chords are 3 notes away, they share at least 1 note in common, and so this note is used as an anchor point to segue smoothly from one chord to another, providing context that justifies using chords together that would traditionally never be used in sequence. In this B section, all of the chords are either exploiting this technique or their roots, which is the letter name of the chord and core of the chords, for example C in C major, like when C minor falls to B flat major, and then F minor falls to E flat minor. Because our ears can identify that we're not playing by the usual rulebook, they understand this sliding between close chords, which otherwise could sound clumsy and inappropriate in the context of a more traditional harmonic system. Next, we come to the ingenious transition between the B section and the final triumphant repetition of the A section. This ABA pattern is referred to as rounded binary form, a musical sandwich of 2 contrasting sections bookended by the first. What makes this transition so special is the time signature quickly goes through several changes. We first hear 4 bars of the expected 7-8, but then hear 1 bar of 8 beats, which can be written as 4-4, 1 bar of 7, then 2 bars of 6 beats, finally leading us back into the A section and a return of the now familiar 7 beats in a bar. Hopefully this little graphic can help you follow along to the excerpt, but don't worry if it's a bit confusing. It took me quite a few listens to actually figure this out myself. This is an incredibly subtle and frankly mind-blowing level of attention to detail, entirely unusual and yet another sign that we are firmly in the land of fantasy. Anything can happen here, both the strange and the sublime. So we meet again the call to arms that is this heroic A section. However now, through the magic of the B section's chord progressions, we hear this material in a different key. We have modulated up 1 semitone from C minor to D flat minor. Consciously imperceptible to most, but a subliminal signal and representation of the spirit of this game. The lifestyle of constant self-improvement, striving to reach ever higher and surpass both ourselves and all we contend with on our travels. The circling motif from before is now ever more present, being boldly stated in the violins, violas and cellos, uniting all us players in our ritual return to this portal, again and again. For though we cannot live within its world forever, we are blessed to always return to these hallowed gates and share, together, in the beauty of this world of granted wishes, this world of wonder, our world of Warcraft. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider sharing this video with any friends you think might enjoy it too, as well as liking the video and subscribing. It would really help the channel to grow, crucial for such a niche kind of series. If you'd like to support the channel, you can find links to my Patreon and PayPal in the description below. If you've wondered where I've been lately, please also take a look at my recent update video and let me know your thoughts on my musings there. It's been too long, folks. I'm looking forward to making this channel bigger and better than it ever was, so I'll see you again soon. But until then, stay chin.